Before you send your fiction manuscript off to agents, you want to be sure that you have it formatted correctly. Hi, I'm Carolyn V. Hamilton with Memoir to Legacy, and I want to help you make your manuscript look as acceptable as possible so it doesn't get rejected immediately for bad formatting. Agents and publishers expect you to follow specific guidelines on the way your manuscript is formatted. Editors prefer submissions of any kind that are neat and uniform. Manuscripts that were probably great stories were just tossed aside usually by secretaries, because they saw immediately that the formatting wasn't the standard and it would be hard and distracting to read. So before shipping your work off to potential agents and publishers, let's dive into Microsoft Word and see how this formatting works. Okay, here we are in Microsoft Word. And the first thing we want to do is we want to go up here to Format. We've opened a new document. I'm sure you know how to do that. And we want to go up here into Format and then scroll down in the drop-down menu to Document. And then in this pop-up box, we're going to go to Page Setup. And I have my paper size set at A4 because I'm in a foreign country, but for you North Americans, you'll want to use US letter size. So I've changed that. My orientation is vertical. All of that is good. Now, the margins, your margins have to be at minimum of 1 inch all the way around the paper. So I've set mine top, bottom. I like the left and the right to be 1 1/4 inches in, and that's okay. That's acceptable. It's just a personal preference. But your margins must be at least 1 inch from the edge of the document. So I'm going to click OK, and it gets me back into my space. Now, the first page that you're going to do is going to be your title page. And so I'm going to just scroll down here a little bit, and I'm going to write Dare to Survive, because that is the name of my latest novel. I'm going to make it a little bigger up here, and you can see that it's my setting has gone to this default setting that I really hate. I can't figure out how to get rid of it. But there's two ways that I can set my font here. I can go to that drop-down menu and I can scroll down. I've already got Times New Roman up here because that's something that I use a lot. So I could do it that way. Or I could go up here to Font, and here's all my fonts that I can scroll up and down to find, but I already have Times New Roman up here at the top because I use that a lot. So I'm going to select that. Now it's changed. Then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to center my page title, and I want that maybe to be a little further down. I'm going to type my name, and this is really all that you need to have on your first page. Now, because you don't want to start numbering your pages until the second page, I'm going to go up here to this little paragraph icon, and that's going to show all these lines that I entered in order to scroll down to my title. And let's see, now I want my body copy to all be set at double spacing. So I'm going to go up in here to Paragraph under Format, and you'll see that you have all these options here. All this on the left should just be 0. This should be none. And you want to change this line spacing to double. That is the accepted manuscript format. So now, after my name, I'm going to scroll down a little more here, and I'm going to go back up here to the header bar, and I'm going to insert a section break. Section break, next page. And you can see here, this is what it looks like in blue. Now, when you turn off the P, you don't see any of that. But when it's on, it helps you to kind of see where you are. And then you can go down. This is my second page now. And I want to add a header and a footer here. So I'm going to go up to View, and I'm going to find header and footer in the drop-down menu and click on that. So in the header, I want to type the title of my novel and my name as the author. Now, I can see that has kicked back into this default Cambria thing I don't want, so I just highlight it and I go back up in here and I make it Times New Roman. Now, I don't think it needs to be 12 like the body of my manuscript, so I'm going to change it to 10 just to make it a little less conspicuous on the page. Now, this is the header for section 1, and I don't really want that up there for section 1. I want that in section 2. So here, let me open that back up again, and let's do this. I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to go down here to section, wait a minute, okay. I was in section 2. I'm in the right place. There we go. I get confused sometimes. Now, see where it says same as previous? I don't want that because I don't want that to show up here on my title page. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to click again on header and footer, and a new dashboard bar opens up, and you'll see up here this box that's checked. It says link to previous. So we want to uncheck that. So now in my blue bar here, I'm seeing section 1 and then section 2. So if I go back up in here in section 1 and I dump that, it's gone from section 1, but now it's still in section 2. So then I'm going to go down here to the footer of section 2. Again, I don't want it to be same as previous. So, and when I click there so that I can enter my page numbers, I have to go back up in here and I have to unlink that again. Now I can enter my page numbers. So I go back up here to Insert, scroll down and hit Page Numbers. A new box comes up which shows you where it's going to be. It's going to be aligned right. I could have it on the center or the left, but I like the right. And I don't want show number on the first page, and so I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so actually it doesn't show on this page, so this is the first page of section 2, and that's why it did that. So I'm going to go back up to page numbers, and I'm going to click show number on first page, because this is the first page of section 2, and I'm going to click OK. So now I'm good. On my first page, I don't see any numbers or headers, but I do on my second page. And now I'm going to close the header and footer, and then I'm going to turn off actually these little paragraph symbols, and look how nice and clean that looks. There's my cover page. Here's where my chapters are going to begin with my my header of my title and name on each page, and my footer in the lower right hand corner. So here we are in your Word document, and we have set our header, and now we want to close the header and footer so we can get back into the body of our manuscript. So here we're going to start with chapter 1, and you want to start each new chapter on its own page, about 1/3 of the way down the page. Now, if I have my paragraph, my little paragraph thing highlighted up here so you can see these little blue P's, and I keep going down. Let's make this a little smaller so that you can see kind of what 1/3 of the page would look like, because that's where you want to start it. And I've double spaced my copy, remember, my text. So now I'll go down, return maybe for, that looks good. That's kind of about 1/3 of the page. It's good enough. So I've gone down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, and maybe one more. Okay, so on the 7th line, I'm going to start my chapter, and I'm going to type chapter 1. Notice it's Times New Roman. I've made it bold, and I like my chapter titles bold. And then, if there's a name of the title of the chapter, you would just make a space and a hyphen, and then you'd call this chapter title. Now, not all chapters have titles, so that depends on how you wrote your book. Then 4 to 6 lines below the chapter title, you want to begin the body of the work. Now remember, we have double spaced here, so I would say 2 double spaces down will be fine. And then up here, you want to make sure that you're in the left. Your type now is all going to be flush left. And a rule of thumb is that your first paragraph does not need to be indented. You can keep going on from there. Then, when you go down to your next paragraph, now you can indent 1/2 inch and start your second paragraph here. Let's take a minute and talk about dialogue. Dialogue usually always begins on a new line. And let's say your dialogue is, I'm just going to make up something here. So the first thing you do is a quote mark. Come here, comma, close quotes. She, notice she is lowercase, said, period. Now this is going to continue her part of the dialogue. So we have a quote mark. Let's see, come here, she said, I have something to give you, period. Then the next line of dialogue that usually belongs to the second person in the scene gets its own new paragraph. I'm just going to make this up as we go along here. So, he gave her a strange look. Now, this line of dialogue is not going to be attributed, so I just close quotes and I say, he says, what is it? And the next line of dialogue will be hers, so that gets an indent. And she says, we know there's only 2 people in this scene, so that we just made up, so we don't need to have a lot of attribution. So she just says, it's something special, period. It's a surprise, period. And then we go on, perhaps with some description, exposition, etc. So this is how your page should look. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to turn off the little P's for paragraphs so that you can see how nice and clean and tidy this page looks. We have the information up here in the header that's going to be on every page. We have started our chapter, we've left a space there, and then we go on from there. I hope this has been helpful to you, because I find that in a lot of places on the internet and in books, they tell you what to do to format your manuscript, but they don't really show you how to do it and what to actually click within Microsoft Word. So one other thing that I want to add, if you're mailing your manuscript off to a publisher or an editor in New York, and that is still done, not everything is done over the internet, but you want to be sure that it's on 20-pound white bond paper. And I hope this video has been helpful to you because I want to see you get your manuscript looking absolutely perfect before you send it off.